All right, we are officially back. Sports Talk on Elm Street returns for the first episode of the new semester. Joe Elms, Quinn Richards, and for the second episode in a row, we have a special guest, a very special guest, rocking the RoboCop-esque headphones.
I got bored with this.
Okay, all right. Now we're gonna take it back.
We're that.
But our guest today, very important. I'm going to a man who needs no introduction, but I'm going to try to give him one anyway. He is involved with several different sports media outlets here at IU, the Hoosier Network, IUSTV Sports. He is one of the two hosts of the Toss Up. And
one of the most electric voices in IU sports media.
Yeah, seriously.
Sick.
The man, of course, you all know who I'm referring to. The man, the myth, legend, my man Joe Cronin. Joe, thank you for coming on the show today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Been trying to make it. Oh, almost had the wrong camera there. It's okay. You know,
we're trying. It's a feeling out process.
Oh yeah,
we're trying to get back into it.
It's a pleasure. Tried to work out some kinks in the first semester, but good to be back in this room. Done a few podcasts in here before. It's a fun environment, you know.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming on, and it's gonna be fun talking.
I feel fairly intimidated in front of two Joes. Normally, like one Joe is fine, but once you got two in here, it just feels
wait until we throw in like a third. There's another one, Roman.
We'll
Roman
get another Joe in here, and we'll just have three Joes at some
I'm just
point.
thinking like Joe Brennan or something.
We
all three of.
And you just got to stare down the face of three Joes or Quinn. Like, good luck.
It's absolutely intimidating for sure, but we'll get through it.
Yeah.
We'll get through it with some NFL talk. How about that?
Yes. Thank you. That's a great segue, by the way. That's a fantastic segue. Let's talk some NFL postseason, and Joe, of course, the topic that you guys talked about on the toss-up when you were host yesterday is the NFL playoffs, but you were asking the panel about what they thought. Here, we're going to flip it around. We want to see what you think about the NFL playoff landscape, and let's go in order. You think that's probably the best course. That's probably the best course of action. Let's go in order. The first game of the NFL Divisional Round is in the AFC. We'll start on the AFC side. The Houston Texans against the top-seeded Baltimore Ravens. That's happening this upcoming Saturday at 4:30, ESPN, ABC. Joe, I'm going to start with you here. We're going to go over to you. Initial thoughts on this matchup. What are you looking for? What are the keys for each team? And who wins and why?
I mean, first off, just like credit to C.J. Stroud and D'Amico Ryans. The fourth ever rookie coach plus rookie quarterback duo to make or win a playoff game, I believe. And, Stroud has just been a dog. He's kind of breaking the Ohio State quarterback stigma.
He's
got a guy like going into that year. You look at Dalton Schultz, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Devin Singletary. You're like, okay, they're working for another lottery pick, and maybe get Marvin Harrison Jr. paired back with this guy. And after about 7 weeks, you're like, oh, this guy doesn't throw picks. This guy balls. And he did. And, I mean, shoot, he was a Gardner Minshew terrible pass away from not even being in the playoffs, which is kind of crazy to think about it. But they got the job done against the team, probably one of the most picked away teams of the wild card weekend with the Browns. And, there's so much talk about the Browns defense, guys like Myles Garrett and how his PFF grade was helping him. Clearly did a lot with his zero pressures that he had against C.J. Stroud and the Texans. I mean, Laramie Tunsil just absolutely masterclass of a game.
He completely neutralized Myles Garrett. And that Texans offensive line did an exceptional job of neutralizing that Cleveland pass rush.
That's fun. I mean, Wildcard Weekend kind of showed like some new up-and-coming faces. Obviously, like you got your faces of the league, Mahomes, Josh Allen. They're getting the job done. But some younger guys, Brock Purdy's.
He's been doing what he's been doing.
Got the bye week. Say what you want about him, but it's hard to hate him a ton just because he does get the job done. And then Jordan Love got that win with the Packers. But back to this Texans-Ravens game. The Ravens are good, just straight up. They were probably the best team in the league. I mean, sure, you can maybe argue the 49ers, but the Ravens...
I think the
Ravens beat the crap out of them.
The way the Ravens ended the season was just phenomenal. Obviously, excluding the Steelers game where the Ravens just benched the entire team.
Starters, it didn't matter.
The route of the Dolphins beating Do they face the Bills? I think did they take on the Bills? I can't recall. But obviously the 49ers game where they just... I think the final score was 33-19, but that game, if I watched it Christmas Day...
It was not
representative of that
close.
score. I think the Ravens dominated after the first quarter. It was all Ravens, and they really just took the air. And that was in San Francisco. So I think Ravens are... It's easy when these teams have bye weeks to just forget how good they are and to get wrapped up in the hype of C.J. Stroud and how good the Texans are. And not to take anything away from them, but... let's not forget how good these Ravens really looked on both sides of the ball prior to, obviously, resting every player.
I think Stroud, I do think the Ravens win. I think this is going to be a game where Stroud kind of shows that he's a rookie. He's going to have his rookie moment this game because he's staring at the face of probably the best linebacker duo in football with Roquan Smith, who's arguable for one of the best in the league outside of Fred Warner, which I'll give Warner his props. He's unreal. And then obviously Patrick Queen was just been phenomenal this year. They have the best safety in football. Kyle Hamilton is a dog, and as long as he's healthy, that guy can play. Some great corners there on the edge. I mean, Marlon Humphrey really hasn't slowed down in his career ever since, like 2019. He was an all-pro, and he's still just at a high level of play. And then their pass rush is historic.
It's
60
sacks this
more
year,
historic than the 2000 Ravens team that won the Super Bowl that had... I forget who was on the front, but I mean, that was Ray Lewis commanding the middle linebacker spot. And I mean, this is just eerily similar defensive statistics to that team. And obviously, there's the whole every 12 years the Ravens win. They won in 2000. They won in 2012. It's now 2024. Is it the Ravens' year? I mean, honestly, they have one of the better chances. Their path is tough. The AFC is tough. But I think they get the job done. I mean, they're good.
This has got to be their shot, right? I mean, this is going to be the year if they want to break through and win a Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson, a quarterback, the offense that they have, the defense that they have, the structure that they have in place. Now's the time.
This is like the first time in Lamar Jackson Ravens era.
This is the best team Lamar has had around
It's the best team he's around, and it's the first time he's going into the playoffs healthy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
time and time again, Lamar enters the playoffs, and he's got some sort of lingering injury, and it shows in the playoff game. So I'm excited to see a healthy Lamar Jackson in the playoffs for the first time. I think he could put up some big numbers. But I also do think there is a path for the Texans to beat the Browns. To beat the Ravens. They beat the Browns. And it refers back to that. We saw against the Browns, obviously the Browns have a fantastic defense, right? But the Browns defense is very high risk, high reward, I'd like to say. They will push you and they will pressure you, but they will let up a lot over the top. And we saw multiple times this year where the Browns defense did get exposed a few times. Regardless of the overall good statistics, they did show some weaknesses. And I think C.J. Stroud was able to exploit that with some great throws. I think the Ravens are a much more all-around base, fundamentally sound defense. And for that, I think C.J. Stroud will need to make some phenomenal throws. I think it's going to be tight pocket throws time and time again. And I think if he is able to do that and he makes a few, let's say 4 or 5 just phenomenal throws, talked about throws, on the money, pinpoint, I think that the Texans can actually get out of here with a win. With like Nico Collins has looked phenomenal, just absolutely fantastic this year. He's really become a 3-level threat. He can get you short, he can get you medium, and obviously he can burn you deep. I think if CJ is able to hit his point, hit his mark, I think that the overall just offense of this Texans team can overcome the Ravens. It's going to be a lot on the Texans defense, however. Joe, how about you? Thoughts on this?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think the Ravens are, I think we all agree, they're the better team. And the Texans give me, you know what the Texans make me think of? You know what team they make me think of the 2021 Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
And that team went to the Super Bowl. Am I saying the Texans are going to go to the Super Bowl? Not necessarily, but I think that Baltimore, they have a historic defense, a historic pass rush, racking up 60 sacks. Lamar Jackson is probably going to win MVP, most likely. And he has, as I alluded to a little bit ago, he has the best collection of skill players around him that I think he's ever had. And I said that if Baltimore wants to win a Super Bowl, this is the year. This is the best shot they will have. And I think the Texans have had a fantastic run, and they're only going to get better. They're only going to get better from here. However, I think that Baltimore's the better team, and I think that that defense is going to, as you alluded to, Quinn, is going to make C.J. Stroud they're going to make him kind of remember that he's a rookie and not a 10-year veteran. So Ravens win by, I'll say, Ravens win by 10. That's my prediction.
Want to go to roundhouse predictions?
So I know, like, he made everybody eat his words on one of the last weeks of the season. I think it was the game to kind of decide first place in the AFC against the Dolphins.
Yeah.
He just sat in through 5 touchdowns and only 3 incompletions and just
perfect
pretty much
rating.
Shut up everybody. Yeah. That was like, he's not quarterbacky enough. That's crazy, first off. That was a wild thing to say. But I think when it comes to Lamar Jackson and the Texans defense, they can't allow him to break off for like a 15 to 20-yard run. You can't let him get going then, because now you're forcing one of your middle linebackers to be in this. Obviously, you have to scheme around the contain and the spy, but you can't force. You can't make in-game adjustments, because that just allows him to pick apart teams through the air, and he's been able to do that a few times. But I just don't. His weapons up and down aren't better than, outside of maybe Mark Andrews, it's really not better than what the Texans have. I would probably take Nico Collins over, say, Flowers or Odell. Odell's old and can still make catches, but his explosiveness first step isn't as there.
He also hasn't consistently proven that he can stay healthy, I don't think.
That's it. But I do like Nico Collins. Dalton Schultz isn't a bad tight end, but Mark Andrews is. He's a good
far better.
He's one of those premier tight ends that you want.
Assuming he plays this week, which it looks like he's trending in that direction.
Yeah, and it's not a knock on, say, Flowers by any means. He's been terrific for a rookie. Some people were really just doubting him coming from Boston College, but I think Baltimore found their guy to help out Lamar.
Yeah, for sure.
It just comes down to I think it's gonna be closer. It's going to be low scoring. This one, I've got to double check what the over-under's looking at right now. I'm pretty sure it's one of the lower ones.
It was set pretty low at 43.5, so that's not that big of an over-under.
I could realistically see this as a 2017 game.
Yeah.
Something around that. I think Ravens get it done. Their defense is good. They're going to slow down some over-the-top stuff. Dalton Schultz is almost going to be a null factor if Kyle Hamilton's roaming the field. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's dangerous. Yeah. And then you have to keep in mind the pass rush, that there are 4 guys on this Ravens side that can get to Stroud. And I think Stroud's going to have to be out of his comfort zone a little more than he's had all season, being out of the pocket, stuff like that. Throws on the run, even using his legs, something that he didn't do at Ohio State, something he really hasn't done a ton this year. Yeah. So, who knows? Texans will probably be able to get theirs if they score early. You got to punch them in the mouth early. That's the thing. Right away. You probably, if you're the Texans and you win the coin flip, you want the ball.
Take it.
Because when you're in a situation like that, make the Ravens, the home team, uncomfortable right off the bat, and you're going to be able to kind of control things for a little bit.
I'm going to go and agree with special guest Joe on this one. I think it's going to be a close game. I think something that might surprise people is I think that the Texans will go with a lot of run game early, because I think the weakest part of this Ravens defense is their run defense. So I think the running game of the Texans will open up CJ's ability to pass. I think it's going to be a little higher scoring than what Joe said, so I'm going to say 27-24, but I think the Ravens will, in the end, come out with it. And I think that just comes down to just how dynamic Lamar is at that quarterback position.
That's what I was kind of thinking in terms of score-wise. I'm going to say 27-20. The Ravens take it. I think it's going to be a little bit more high-scoring than what my man Joe said. But I think the Ravens, regardless of that, the Ravens are going to prove why they were, I think, the best team in the league more or less the whole season.
Yeah, and let's be honest, additionally, if you guys recall, week 18 is the last week. Yeah. CJ and all the starters for the Texans were playing because it was a must-win game against the Colts. Yeah. Meanwhile, the Ravens were not. They were sitting. So
they're coming off
a bye week. So 2 extra weeks of rest for that entire Ravens, almost every single Ravens starter. So that's, I think, gonna show up in the game.
Outside of that Steelers game, I'm looking real quick. It's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 one-score games they played in this season. God. Outside of the Steelers game that they lost 17-10. What the heck?
Yeah.
What? They lost the Colts 22-19. I think that was OT. was Matt Gay knocking down a big field goal. They lost to the Steelers twice this year, but the second one was a really just rest of starters, meaningless game. Yeah. And then all the other ones were wins. They beat the Titans by 8, beat the Cardinals by 7, and the Rams
on that punt return
37-31 on that punt return. That was the only game where I was looking at is like, where was this team's weakness at any point? And that was the only time there was like,
it was a little dicey. Maybe
they didn't get blown out. I mean, you see a lot of times like with good teams. I mean, the 49ers happened to them. It's like one time you lose by 14 or even more sometimes.
Yeah.
They didn't. They lost by 2, 7, and 3.
Keep in mind that 49ers game was at Levi Stadium. Like, this team, they walked in there and just smacked the 49ers in the mouth in their own stadium.
I might have to, like, rescind my take and might even say 2010. Because, once again, there was only one one-scored wildcard game, too.
Yeah. So, I believe we're all in agreement that the Ravens will take this one. So, the next game I want to... This is going to be good. I'm looking forward to covering this one and getting your take on it.
This one means a little more to special guest Joe.
Yes, it does mean a little bit more to special guest Joe. We got his Green Bay Packers. For those who don't know, Joe is a Green Bay Packers fan. If you haven't watched the toss-up or any of that, he's a massive Green Bay Packers fan and was just simply overjoyed, I think, with the results of last weekend. But his Green Bay Packers, the 7th seed, taking on the top-seeded San Francisco 49ers. In San Francisco, that one's going to be the Saturday night. It's going to cap it off 8:15 on Fox. So, Joe, I mean, we got to go to you first because the Packers, I mean, they're your team, taking on the top seed. So what are you looking for in this matchup, both on the Packers side and on the 49ers side? Keys to the game, if you will, and, of course, who takes it and why?
I'll start with the Packers right away, and it's a similar thing to what I said with the Texans. And it's actually what the Packers did just last weekend against the Cowboys. Get the ball first, go on a 7-minute drive and score. That's a punch in the mouth. The Cowboys, up and down the roster, outside of a position here and there, were a better team. Better coordinators, I would say. I would take Dan Quinn over Joe Barry. Joe Barry, I mean, Green Bay was asking for his head on a totem pole, pretty much. Sorry if that's too dark.
I think we can let it slide.
You get what I'm saying, though.
I think we do.
But Joe Barry's kind of like flipped the script and probably saved his job for a second consecutive season. That's regardless. Punch him in the mouth because make him uncomfortable. Don't let that team just sit and run 7 yards per carry with Christian McCaffrey because that will happen. The Packers' rush defense is the worst of remaining playoff teams. It was ranked, I think, 28th in the league. It's bad. It's a bad rush defense.
Bad.
They get moved around up front, and they have a Pro Bowl interior lineman, but that's the extent of where their rush defense is good. And it's Kenny Clark. He'll get his maybe one play where he stops Christian McCaffrey, but that's the best running back in football. They have probably the best tight end this year in football. Mm-hmm. They have a fantastic offensive line with the best left tackle in football. They have some top 3 receiving core, probably.
Yeah.
Around there.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe like Bengals and, I don't know. I mean, Rams are good, but it was kind of a Puka Nacua show this whole season. I don't know. But regardless of that, you got to punch him in the mouth. I want force Brock Purdy to throw the ball. I know he's played well this year, but put him under some pressure. Come on now.
Yeah.
Put him in a situation where he's not up 7-0 right away, like from running the ball 8 times.
I mean, that is this team's, that's their weakness. Yeah. I mean, if you jump out to a lead, I think you've got them right where you want them.
Yeah. And obviously, LaFleur and Shanahan are cut from the same crop pretty much. Mm-hmm. They are going to run very similar systems. Mm-hmm. One has more talent, the other doesn't. Now, here's the big thing, and this is the exciting part. 2 years ago, I had my heart absolutely ripped out of my chest watching the 13-4 MVP Aaron Rodgers Green Bay Packers put up 10 points at home in a playoff game to the San Francisco 49ers that were led by none other than Jimmy Garoppolo, who threw the ball, I think, 8 times that game. Mm-hmm. Something like that. Something ridiculous.
There was a lot of running that game.
A lot of running. A punt block touchdown was the deciding factor in that game, and a missed field goal by the Green Bay Packers. Special teams, hooray. And also scoring 10 points is
that kind of does
terrible.
it, too.
That does it, too.
That'll do it. Yeah.
That was a 49ers team that really had nothing to lose. It's like, they're figuring out. They were the 6th, I think, in the NFC.
Yeah, I think
it's
so.
like, let's see what we can do, but we're not there yet. This Packers team, it's Jordan Love's first year at the helm. There's been one player on this team that is not a rookie or second-year player that has caught a touchdown. That's Aaron Jones. Everyone else is a rookie or in their second season of pro football. Like guys like Bo Melton.
Dontavian Wicks.
I mean, shoot, he was drafted, 5th round? I was like, okay.
Cool.
And then here he is, actually being a dog. Romeo Doubs put up 150 against the Cowboys, made Stephon Gilmore look like he should no longer be a corner in this NFL. Like, come on now. That got me fired up. And this team has nothing to lose. They didn't have anything to lose last week. They made the playoffs. That's huge. They beat the Bears twice. That's also huge. Kept ownership of the Bears, and then Jordan Love just beat the Cowboys. Like, are you kidding me?
I mean,
it's like, I don't know. 49ers, I've seen some mix on social media. It's like some of them are thinking okay, this team's actually something to look out for. But then there's a lot of people that are like, all right, they beat the Cowboys, but now they have to face us. So I was like, okay, keep it. Keep the energy. I could be eating my words, which if I do, oh well. Won a playoff game and lost to arguably the second best team in football.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The spread's 9.5. I don't trust that one. I would take the Packers at least covering, and just because they're my team, I'm taking the Packers. It's spoil season. They spoiled one team. We spoiled one team's season already. Let's go for 2.
Wow.
And let's get a little NFC Championship, a little NFC North. I'm an early prediction that the Lions are beating the Bucs. No offense, Baker.
Love that.
Love the story. Yeah. Love Baker Mayfield, but Jordan Love, man, he probably won't have realistically, outside of my deepest desires and dreams, he will probably have one of his worst games in the past month. This 49ers defense is good. Yeah. They're going to rattle him. They're going to get some sacks, and he might throw a pick. But if he doesn't, if they run the ball well, average around 4 or 5 yards per carry with Aaron Jones, he's a good running back.
Yeah.
Things are going to get open. Guys get open, and he makes some good throws, and shock the world again. Why not?
I feel like Jones is being underrated because he was injured most of the season.
He just had 3 straight 100-yard games.
And now he's come back in a massive way. So Joe, what you said, it kind of leads into my next question about this game. Quinn, are you worried? How are you worried? And if so, how worried are you if you're a 49ers fan?
Okay, I'm just gonna say this to get this out of here. It's a little comparison here. We're going a little superhero thing here.
Okay.
The Ravens are my Superman, right? Because you got Lamar Jackson, right? If the Ravens offense is Superman, right?
Okay.
The 49ers are the Avengers, right?
Okay.
And Brock Purdy is my Hawkeye. He's kind of useless, but he still helps out. You know what I mean?
That's great.
Hawkeye never lost. Remember that. Anything that Hawkeye was at, he didn't lose.
Hawkeye's a winner, and Brock Purdy's a winner. And I know the Cam Newton. I don't know if you guys have seen this. The Cam Newton game manager curse.
The game manager thing.
He just speaks Japanese, man.
Japanese.
Dude's been out of the league.
He's fluent.
Yelled, "I'm back," and then got cut from the team.
He's fluent in Japanese. He's fluent in Japanese. I think Brock Purdy is more than a game manager. I don't really like the whole term game manager because I feel like at the end of the day, almost every quarterback is a game manager. That's the responsibility of a quarterback.
Yeah, that's one of their responsibilities.
I don't know. But I think Brock Purdy's better than people give them credit for. But I think the key for the Packers, and I think Joe Cronin, our beautiful special guest, Joe, touched on this.
So sweet.
Touched on this. The key is keeping the Avengers off the field, right?
Yeah.
You cannot have all of those guys on the field constantly because all they're going to do is just demoralize this Packers defense, the run defense in specific, because I don't think they're going to be relying on the pass game as much as they are on Christian McCaffrey and running the ball.
No, yeah.
If the Packers can score and take their time scoring and keep the 49ers offense off the field, I think Green Bay's got a good chance. And if I'm the 49ers fans, you know what I'm worried about? I'm worried about the fact that the Packers just went into AT&T Stadium, the hardest stadium to win in statistically this season.
Yep.
I mean, the Cowboys did not lose a game at home this season.
And they're averaging 36 points there.
Ridiculous.
It was pretty impressive.
Look, the Packers just walked in there and just took them to town.
I loved it.
I mean, it was insane.
It's been said that it's hard to play in San Francisco. We've already seen it once that a team, the Ravens, went into San Francisco and were able to just kind of demoralize. I think that the Packers have the potential to do that again. but I don't think it's going to happen. I would go with the 49ers here because I think the 49ers, when it comes to it at the end of the day, are just the more talented team. And I understand, I think the Cowboys were also the more talented team. I just don't see Jordan Love putting up as good of a game he put up against the Cowboys against this 49ers defense. I think they're going to put an end to it, and I think he's going to struggle. Now, I don't think Jordan Love's a bad quarterback. I've loved Jordan Love all year, and to be honest, I am upset that the Packers have found a way to draft 3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks in a row. That is ridiculous, and it should not be possible. That's crazy to say that Jordan Love's already a Hall of Fame quarterback, but he's looking like it.
I mean, he's
absolutely looking like it based off this season.
That was a great game he had.
Off the season, but I am going to go with the 49ers at the end of the day because I think this 49ers team is just too talented to lose. And again, as we mentioned with the Ravens, they're coming off a bye week, and we tend to forget just how good these teams coming off of a bye week actually are.
Yeah.
They also rested all of their starters, most of their starters, against the Rams in the final game of the season. So similar story there, having extra weeks of rest. But I think sometimes that can hurt you. It's two sides of the coin, right? And you're not playing.
It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah. Whereas the Packers are coming off a game where they just, look like they were just having fun out there. But
and they're also arguably the hottest team in the playoffs right now.
Yeah.
In terms of just the way they've been. Obviously, the 3 teams they beat going into it were the Panthers, Vikings, Bears. That's not a good stretch of teams.
Not necessarily a gauntlet.
Not a gauntlet by any stretch of the imagination. But they were must-win games to make the playoffs.
And they took care of business.
And they took care of business, and it was convincing. The 2 were convincing. The Panthers was not so convincing, and I still was like, wow, this team should not be in the playoffs, but they are. But just beat the brakes off the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Made everyone the biggest Packers fan for a couple hours.
And made the entire Cowboys, I'm going to say, the whole team look stupid.
Yeah.
In their home stadium.
And something that our special guest Joe just picked up on, those were all must-win games. I know they weren't the toughest opponents, but they're all must-win games. The Packers have been playing must-win games. The 49ers, have they really had a must-win game all season?
They locked up the top seed.
Their must-win game was on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
That was a show the league that you are the team, and they didn't.
Yeah,
well, they
what
showed
happened?
The league something. They showed that the Ravens are the best team.
In all honesty, the Niners' best wins of this year are the Eagles, the Cowboys, and I might have to dig deep to find this one. Who the other one is? LA's not a terrible. That was a playoff team.
But
the Jags at the time were good. Tampa Bay they beat.
LA in week 2 is not the same as LA.
They were not the same
at the end of the year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, I'd say Tampa Bay is probably their 3rd best win.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Which that was also in a stretch where Tampa Bay was not figuring it out.
Yeah.
The Packers' 3 best wins are the Lions on the road, the Chiefs at home, which I know the Chiefs were going through a little funk at the time, but that's the Kansas City Chiefs.
And then the whole thing, with the refs, but that's neither here nor there.
That was a horribly officiated end of the game. And then the Cowboys. The Packers have beaten their hardest teams. The 49ers have not. And they did not, and they were embarrassed. I'm not saying that the Packers are going to come in there and just waltz over like that. To win, it's going to be a grind. But it's just, you look at some of these things, looking at some of the games that the 49ers have lost, especially with Brock Purdy's performances in those games, as well as Christian McCaffrey's, as in the Cleveland game where Purdy threw for 125 yards in a 19-17 loss. When they lost to Minnesota with Kirk Cousins and Christian McCaffrey had 45 yards on the ground. Yeah. Things like that. It's like Minnesota.
Well, to be fair, Big Game Kirk showed up in that game. So
it's the Kirk Cousins curse, which means the Packers, the 49ers, are not going to win the Super Bowl.
The Lions, though.
The Lions and the Bucs.
We'll get to that.
That's
Kirk Cousins
the
curse.
Kirk Cousins curse is alive and well.
It is.
So, all right.
Final score prediction. I'm going to go
recap. Yeah.
I'm going to go final score prediction real quick.
Go.
I'm going to take the 49ers. I think they have too many weapons, and I think a big part of this is going to be the run game is going to settle Brock Purdy into the game. The run game and short passes, I think, are going to be open for the 49ers, and I think that helps Brock Purdy settle in and get comfortable and avoid some of the mistakes he made in some of those other big games we talked about, especially the Ravens is one that stands out where he had, 4 picks? So I think Brock Purdy's going to settle down because of the weapons. I'm going to take the 49ers. I think it's going to be right around the spread, so I'm going to say 30-20. Vegas never lies. So 30-20.
Wow.
I'm going to take the 49ers.
I think the Packers ride this high for one more week.
Wow.
I think they do.
Yeah.
It's a similar thing like they did. They had a back-to-back weeks of Lions, Chiefs, and then after that was a Giants loss, and I think Tampa Bay was after that, if I recall correctly, which was just like, oh my. They went from 6-6, where they're like, oh, this team making a push, to 6-8. But either way, I think they ride the high one more time, because why not? A little game-winning field goal. Anders Carlson, 33-30. A little bit of a movie. Send them home, as they should. Sit down, 49ers fans. I hate you. Sorry. I've watched 4 different times losing in the playoffs to the same team.
Yeah.
In 2012, 2013, 2019, and 2021. It's a new quarterback.
Yeah.
You got the best of Rodgers, but this is Jordan Love, not Aaron Rodgers. So go away and just never come back.
Well,
sorry.
No, hey, listen, as an Eagles fan,
That
I
is
think
the
your
passion
feelings
we
are
love.
validated.
That
it's
was
so,
the passion we love.
Everyone's like, Bears-Packers rivalry. No, I hate the 49ers. Number one team I hate the most ever. I've never experienced pain like that. Actually, no, 2014 Seahawks, but yikes. Oh. We don't talk about that onside kick, Brandon Bostic.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Wow.
I'm getting off topic.
So, listen, Joe, as an Eagles fan, I completely validate your feelings. I hate the 49ers almost as much as you do.
It's like I don't like Debo. It's like,
it's trash.
My team never played meaningful games, so I really don't care about anything.
Anyway, all right. So, you take the Niners, you take the Packers.
Count us out. Do it. Whole nation's going to. Again, back-to-back weeks.
You know what? Screw it. I'm going to embrace the chaos. Packers win on a game-winning field goal. Packers walk into San Francisco. Jordan Love throws. I'm going to keep it a little. He throws 2 touchdowns, not 3.
Yeah.
He throws 2 touchdowns. No picks, though. No turnovers. And Anders Carlson completes a 25-yard pass in crunch time, setting up Anders Carlson with a 20-something chip shot field goal to win the game.
I don't like that because Anders Carlson has the most missed extra points this year.
Oh,
well,
he's been horrible. Like, respectfully, he has had a rough rookie year as a kicker. He hits his 50-yarders, he misses his extra points. It's like, come on, make it make sense.
Well, if you're an NFL kicker, I think you gotta be able to hit the easy ones. Let's say, for the sake of this, he hits an easy one. Packers win on a walk-off field goal by 3, advance to the NFC Championship. So let's go to the next game. Why don't we? Yeah.
I like this next one.
A lot of.
You are gonna have some thoughts about this next one.
I so will.
So it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are fresh off a wild card win over the Philadelphia Eagles. Sad face. Heading into Detroit, the 3-1-3, to take on the Detroit Lions, Quinn's team. Quinn, I'm going to start with you, as you naturally should. Let's start with you. So what are your keys for this game for both teams, and who ends up winning it and why?
Let me just start by saying I am so happy. I am so happy to have seen a Detroit playoff win in my lifetime. A team that was
getting visibly emotional. We watched it together.
Do you know what those tickets are?
I was emotional. I was in tears. I didn't think this would ever happen in my lifetime. To see that made my day. But at the same time, it opened up a whole new possibility. This Lions team, they don't just need a playoff win. This is an opportunity, a golden opportunity to not only make the playoffs, not only to win a playoff game. I think this team has a very good chance to make a run to the Super Bowl. I didn't believe it early on in the season. I was like, yeah, we'll get the division. We'll probably make it to the playoffs, but we'll just see if we can win a playoff game. Then I watched that Eagles-Buccaneers game, and yes, the Buccaneers looked good, and they dismantled the Eagles.
And the Eagles at that point had just completely given up.
Floundering. Yeah. But I also watched that Lions game. Believe me, I watched it. It was hard for me because I was stressing the whole time, but I watched it. That atmosphere was electric. And this Lions team beat the Buccaneers already this year in Tampa Bay. And granted, that Tampa Bay team was nowhere near the way they are playing right now when they were playing back then. Baker, I would have said, was not really getting into his stride like he kind of has been as of late.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And if I'm being honest with you, I would have rather faced the Eagles because I think the Lions stack up better with a solid run defense against the Eagles who prioritize running the ball.
Yeah, who admittedly are a pretty good when when Brian Johnson isn't being stupid.
Yeah.
They admittedly are pretty good at running the ball.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, and I think this Lions defense is susceptible to passes, deep passes in particular, and blown coverage in the secondary. I mean, if you guys watched the Rams-Lions games, you saw Puka Nacua absolutely destroy single-handedly, basically, the Lions coverage, time in and time out across the first half. So that worries me because this Buccaneers team can pass the ball. They have Mike Evans. They have solid weapons around Baker Mayfield, who has shown he can make those passes. However, I am going to take and I am going to go through with this Lions offense who has shown time and time again that they can outduel whoever they need to face, as long as it's not the Ravens and they lose 38-6. Whoever they need to face with Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jared Goff, and just the passion that is with this team right now that you can just feel. It's almost electric. America's team. I don't want to hear about the Cowboys being America's team.
But the Cowboys are limited, so they're not anymore.
No one cares about the Cowboys. If we're being honest, people care about the Lions. People want to see the Lions go, especially in Detroit. It's in Ford Field. Detroit's winning this game. You're not going to tell me it's different. Detroit is winning this game. I'm going to say Detroit wins it by 2 touchdowns. I'm going to take Detroit 34-20.
Wow.
I am so excited.
Dang.
Unbelievably. I won't be able to watch it, most of it. I'll be in West Lafayette, shameless plug, covering IU women's basketball in a Purdue rivalry game there.
Plug.
But I will try to sneak watch it if I can.
In a game to clinch the division for the NFC South, the Bucks beat the Panthers 9-0.
I mean, you put up
They didn't
9
score a touchdown
against
that
the
game, right?
Panthers.
No touchdown.
Like what was going on? What were both teams doing? It's realistic.
They were just clowning, man.
Just
They were
a confusing game. Yeah, I agree. Lions are winning by 2 scores.
Wow.
They are good.
Very,
Except when they play the Packers on Thanksgiving.
they're good, except when they
on
are.
a waxing moon or waxing gibbous.
What is the stat? It's like
There's a
0-12,
0-13 on
0-13.
waxing gibbous on Thanksgiving. That's hilarious. I don't know how this happened so many times. I guess like every 4 years.
There might be
5,
a lot of waxing gibbuses, and I mean, there's
How many
at
moon
least
phases
one
are there?
Thanksgiving every year.
You know,
so.
what we've learned? You know what we've learned this season about
What?
the NFL?
There's a
there-
waning gibbous and a waxing gibbous.
I know that, and then there's a
two.
waning waxing crescent. There's a full moon. There's 5.
We're an astronomy podcast.
Is there like
What are we?
Okay,
how
okay,
did we
when-
get
when-
here?
is
How
there-
did we do this?
What's-
How did we get here?
what's it called when there's no moon?
Is that a thing?
I think it's always a moon. If there's a waning crescent, what's after it?
I've always seen a moon though. I don't think I've ever looked at the sky and not seen a moon. Have you? Because maybe I'm just tripping.
Oh,
but-
lunar eclipse, man.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, well, that happens like what?
that's the
There's
one
a
that happens.
solar
in-
eclipse this year.
Well, yes, I know. We
right
know
through
that.
Bloomington.
We're gonna
I'll be
get
watching
classes
that.
off
Yeah.
for you. So it's sick.
Oh, yeah.
Anywho, I don't know why. I don't
Keep
know
us on
how
track,
Yeah,
man.
sorry.
Keep us on
I
track.
think, yeah, like the host has to keep us on track. Anyway,
Talk about the Lions. Tell them why they're going to win.
Anywho, the Lions. I mean, did Tampa Bay play well against the Eagles? Yes, they did. They played well, and the Eagles are my team, and I have no shame in admitting that we looked like dog crap. Which we did, okay? We did. And we had just given up. The Eagles had just given up by that point. And the Buccaneers, they came in and they took care of business, defended their home turf. However, Detroit is a completely different animal altogether. No pun intended, but get it because of the Lions. Anyway, that wasn't funny.
We'll get some pity laughs out there.
The stupid laugh track, just like, that wasn't funny. Anyway, the Lions are a completely different challenge for the Buccaneers altogether, and that Detroit offense, man. I mean, I know Todd Bowles he's been former defensive coordinator stepping into the role of head coach after Bruce Arians departed that role. I know he's done an admirable job. Sorry, he's done a great job leading this team to a win in the NFC South, which, I mean, it's the NFC South. They won the division. That's the important thing, and they won a playoff game. That's great.
Yeah. But how are they going to fare in the cold conditions of Detroit, you know?
It's
I don't know if you saw, I never saw the reporter for
the
that.
cold conditions of Detroit.
How are you going to play in Detroit? It's only like 9 degrees. It's like they got a dome. They actually
got
have
a
had a
dome,
dome
bro.
Did
for
anyone actually say like?
a long time.
Did anyone actually wonder like what the Bucs would do in the weather?
There was a reporter that asked what he would do, and Todd Bowles being
A reporter,
the
like,
kind
actually
guy he
asked
is,
him
was
that.
just like, he was just like, oh, You do know they have a dome, right?
Oh gosh.
And the reporter did the research to figure out how cold it was going to be next week.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, didn't do the
Imagine
research.
putting all that in.
Not just Ford Field. They played in the Pontiac Dome, so they've had a dome for like 50 plus years.
Yeah,
They've
It's
had a
been
dome
a
for
while.
like ever.
They've been yikes. Come on.
Anyway,
Rough reporter moment
Detroit is simply the better team, and their offense, I think, is going to have a field day. I think the Bucs defense is good. Detroit, I don't think the Bucs have quite played a team.
They have played a team like Detroit, and they lost to them.
Thank you. I was going to let you finish that for me. Anyway, they have played a team like Detroit, and they lost by a considerable amount.
That was also coming off a bye week for
Correct.
the Buccaneers, which is never a good luck when you lose off a
never
bye
really
week.
a good look. I think
The score was 20-6 on that
all
game.
of this is to say that Detroit wins. They win by a pretty considerable margin. I'm going to say they win 27-14.
We'll take it.
Yeah.
We'll take it.
So all three of us agree on Detroit.
Yes, sir.
So now, with that out of the way, let's go to the final game in the divisional round. And I might argue one of perhaps the most anticipated one by the general NFL public.
In terms of the spread
It's
as
just,
well.
I think, just with the storylines of this one, it's just like there's a reason it's the Sunday night game.
It is, of course, the one we're referring
As
to.
annoying Tony Romo's going to be that whole time, he's going to have a hard time choosing which crush he is.
Quarterback, which
likes
crush?
more.
Which quarterback he has a bigger crush on?
Yeah.
Of course,
it's going to be Patrick Mahomes.
Of course, we're talking about the Kansas City Chiefs heading into Buffalo to take on the Buffalo Bills. That's going to be on CBS. Nance, Romo. That's going to be very fun to listen to. But no, all joking aside, Joe, let's start with you.
All right.
So again, what are your initial thoughts going into this matchup? Thoughts on it, and who ends up taking this one and why?
I mean, looking at the AFC, is fueled.
Yeah.
I would argue that the four best quarterbacks of the playoffs are in the AFC.
Yeah.
Remaining.
I can get
I would
around
argue. I would put Stroud, Goff, and Love on the tier together.
that. Okay.
But then the other three, Allen, Mahomes, and Jackson are
On a separate
separately
tier.
above that.
Yeah.
So, there's a pedestal. And then obviously with that, the Chiefs are defending champions. They are on the road for the first time as Patrick Mahomes under center in a playoff game. That is in a neutral site in the Super Bowl. That's pretty phenomenal. Buffalo's going to be bumping. They are ready. They're excited. Both teams are going to have a fire because of the way that regular season game ended, with Kadarius Toney lining up about a foot or maybe even less offsides.
Yeah.
Kadarius Toney pulling a Kadarius Toney.
Yeah.
And then Patrick Mahomes is
He's fired
little, let's call it, outburst at the end of that
It's a little
game.
temper tantrum,
Yeah.
as one might say. Oh man, it's tough because I like Josh Allen, I do, and he balled against the Steelers. I know it's the Steelers, so say what you want, but everyone he gets so much unnecessary hate. I feel like
Yeah.
because with their 6-6, they're struggling. Fired their OC. Figure things out. Sean McDermott makes his really questionable comparison. If you remember that.
Yes, I think we
Do you know what I'm
all
talking
recall that.
But there was actually something funny I saw with the Bills. It was you know how they got in the works of a new stadium, probably in 2-3 years.
Yeah.
And they have this pit ready for it. And when they were 6-6, before whoever they were playing that led them to 7-6, someone fell in the pit. Someone has fell in the pit every week since then. They have not lost since someone fell in the pit. They have a sacrificial ritual to win games. It's the Buffalo Bills, man. They're breaking tables. They're jumping in pits. It's awesome. Jump in a pit. Beat Kansas City.
You are not making this up.
I'm not making this up.
Yeah, I'm
When you got sacrificial rituals on your
They
side.
got the pit.
Come on.
It's the pit.
Come on.
All right.
Oh man, I want the Bills to win so bad. I just I don't really have anything against the Chiefs outside of the fact I can't.
It's the Chiefs. They've been doing it.
I'm gonna be really frustrated at that if I have to see some random certain pop artists that I don't know the name of. I can't figure it out.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
On some small tour, I don't know. Basically, bottom line, if She's at the Super Bowl. I just
can't deal with it. No words.
He's speechless.
All right.
I just want Josh Allen. Like, he's just so fun. Like, he throws picks, but who cares? He's fun.
We haven't seen Haley Steinfeld at any of these games.
The Bills are winning, but it's 31-20. They're winning this game.
Yeah.
It's not going to be close. This Chiefs team is not that good.
Okay, so when I take on this game, what I tend to look at is how these teams have been playing, right? Mm-hmm. The Chiefs, yes, they just came off of a big win against the Dolphins, 26-7. That Dolphins team has been basically struggling their way out of the playoffs.
Not good.
Since, like,
not good.
Week 14.
Really at all.
Look how the Chiefs finished the season. They put up 13 points against the Chargers, only won by 1. They had a pretty good game against the Bengals.
They rest everyone.
I think they rested
the Chargers
all their
game?
starters. Yeah.
Okay, the Raiders game sticks out, 14-20.
They beat the Bengals by 8 with Jake Browning.
They lost to the Raiders with Aiden O'Connell, who threw 0 completions after the first quarter, which is an insane stat. I think it hadn't happened since like 1960. Something absolutely incredible. The Patriots game was messy. I don't know if you guys watched that one.
Yeah, I mean, that game was it was a one-score game, but it wasn't a pick six or like a late interception by Bailey Zappi.
And that
kind of sealed it.
That was the Patriots team that had given up. Like, that Patriots team, at that point, not
obviously
good.
lost to the Bills.
The Bills, the Packers, like, it was they beat the Raiders and then lost the Eagles. That's a rough
They've
end of the
lost their
season.
big games.
And the Bills, as you mentioned, the Bills were at what, 6-6?
Yeah.
They needed to win like all of their games. People were counting them out,
and they
won all of those
their
games. Close games, including a 31-10 rout of the Cowboys, including a win against the Dolphins to make it into the
win the AFCs.
I think they went in not needing to win the game because of what had happened elsewhere, but they still went out there and won the division.
That was winning in.
Actually,
I think there was something else that happened before where they didn't need to win to make the playoffs, but they got the home field advantage for the first week.
Right.
And then obviously
Stephon Diggs needs to show up.
I think Stephon Diggs needs to have a big game, but I am going to agree. I think the Bills take this. Just the way they've been playing. This Chiefs team is probably the worst they've looked in years. They have not looked super, and this is why it's Patrick Mahomes' first away playoff game because they struggled. They struggled this year. They've had issues. There's not a clear number 1 wide receiver on this team, I would argue. I don't know if you're going to call who you're going to call what number 1 wide receiver.
Rashee Rice.
Rashee Rice kind of proved it.
Okay.
Yeah, 130.
Rice has been very good.
I'll give you Rice.
For the love of the National Football League, Buffalo win this game.
And keep in mind that Travis Kelce, he's been
He's been the third best tight end in the NFL, which is surprising.
Yeah. But he hasn't been that above every single other player tight end he has been in the past few years. Yeah. So I'm going to go with the Bills. And I think James Cook is a big part of it. I think James Cook needs to have a big game. I think running the ball, getting a good mix of pass. You're not forcing it to Diggs. You're not forcing it to those targets. You're not making Josh Allen make guaranteed throws. I think getting in those second and short, second and manageable situations opens up the offense, and I think James Cook's a big part of that. I expect him to have a big game.
They did a really good job with that against the Steelers. They were throwing the ball early, but like when it mattered the most, they're like, Cook, run.
Yeah, and he's been fantastic both.
Cook,
and I know this from a fantasy perspective because I had him and he carried me in some of those weeks. But he's been great in both a rushing and an option for Josh Allen in the pass game as a check down guy. He's put up some big numbers.
And if there's another fan base that like kind of deserves a win, maybe like they not necessarily makes it a Super Bowl, like get over the hump. It's Bills.
Yeah,
it's hard to hate their fan base because they're just having fun.
Yeah,
they're not
doing whatever they want.
They're not Philly fans.
Bills Mafia.
Respectfully, Philadelphia fans are unbearable. The Philly natives, at least.
I know.
They're not Seahawks fans.
We're the worst.
Seahawks fans are also like. To anyone who might be a Seahawks fan,
they're very loud.
They're bad people.
They're very loud. They are really loud, though.
Mean.
Yeah.
But
Bills Mafia is up there with some of the best fan bases in all of sports.
Just fun.
Good
fun.
Breaking table. I mean, they're out there in the freezing. They're out there digging their seats.
They're breaking tables. They're not cussing out other fans.
Yeah, they're breaking tables and they're digging their seats out of snow.
And they're jumping in pits.
Yeah, jumping in pits.
You gotta look it up.
Are they like lighting stuff on fire too?
Tables?
Yeah, lighting tables on fire.
They're not lighting other people
Now,
on
if
fire.
I see Taylor Swift do a table jump, then I'll say, okay, Chiefs, you can win that game. But if she doesn't do that,
that's respectful.
That'd be sick to see
That's
Taylor
respectful.
Swift do a table, jump through a table.
that would be like
That would be really sick.
such a troll.
In all
too.
honesty, that would be sick.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be good. I think maybe if the Chiefs win.
She watches this podcast, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure she tunes in a week. She might have missed last week.
Yeah, maybe so.
Oh,
she was. I think she was busy just like with the tour or something like that. Something dumb. I mean,
that was a. Oh, wait, do we do final score predictions? I don't think we did for this game.
We can do it real quick.
I'll take the Bills. We'll call it close. I think it's going to be one of those close games, but not too close. Let's say 6 points. I'll take. I don't know. I'm trying to avoid picking a scoregami because I don't think we're going to get a scoregami this week. I'm going to say 30-24. I think that's a manageable score.
All right.
It's so weird because, like, everyone always wants this game to be like that 2021 divisional round game where it was like OT 36-33 or
but it's
whatever.
I think it's OT rules
I think
to
it's
change.
clear for this year that it's not really going to be like
It's
that.
not going to be like
It's
that.
not going to be like
the regular
that.
season game wasn't like that. The Chiefs just don't play that way this year. They're not a high-scoring team. And they're going to bring the Bills' offense a little bit down to earth because like guys like L'Jarius Sneed, very good. Chris Jones.
Yeah.
George Karlaftis is even been a boss.
Incredible football.
So they got good safeties. I mean, Justin Reed's good too. Mm-hmm. They got some good guys on their D-line.
Not to mention getting standout linebacker Nick Bolton back, who's been injured for a good chunk of the season. And he, I mean... The first time that me personally I figured out who he was during the Super Bowl, the game he had during that the fumble he made plays everywhere.
Yeah.
But getting him back is gonna be big too.
I mean, I think the highest total score of any of the 4 games is going to be Packers-Niners.
Wow,
Really?
Personally,
Yeah.
I think the Niners' offense is good, and the Packers I think are just going to be able to compete. And I also picked them to win, but.
But
this isn't about the Packers. This is about the Chiefs and the Bills.
Yeah.
I want to say the Bills are going to win by 2 scores because just let's be bold, just for the sake of it. Like,
you know
what? 27-7 Bills. Yeah. Not even close.
Wow.
Not even close.
Okay.
Not even close.
That's a lot of points.
Go home, Kansas City. Had enough for you.
Joe, you're aware that Taylor Swift listens to this podcast, right? You're aware of that. You know you don't want to.
Remember, I will respectfully eat my words. These are like horrendous. So
okay,
yeah.
well,
and predictions are like whatever.
Yeah, predictions.
I can sit here and talk about the Chiefs did that. Like Chiefs are a good team. Their defense is really good, but it's just like predictions. Yeah, predictions are something bold. I'm not gonna sit here and be like it's gonna be 23-20. Like no,
predictions are predictions.
Be bold.
They're what they are.
Like you ever see like during the season, like I forget who it's some ESPN person. They're like all predictions, and maybe there's not one score game that they predict. So it's like, come on now.
Yeah.
Not every game is going to be 24-23.
Throw in a blowout. Throw in
something crazy. Throw in a team dropping 30.
Throw in something.
Throw in a team dropping 40.
Throw in a team dropping 50.
The team will not drop 40 this week, though. There were 2. We were blessed with 2 teams that dropped 40 in Wild Card Weekend. That was weird.
Yeah.
But it's kind of awesome.
Pick sixes helped that.
Yeah.
A lot of pick sixes in both.
Lots of pick sixes. A very strange amount. There were
3.
At least 3.
Yeah, Texans had 2. Packers had 1.
Yeah.
I think that was it.
That's
still
that's
still a good amount.
So, okay. Y'all are both taking the Bills. All right. So.
Oh, you're going to be a contrarian, aren't you?
I haven't even started talking yet.
I could tell from the look on your face.
So you're picking the Chiefs. You're
why
like,
don't you just wait?
So why don't y'all just wait
and let me give my...
Well, you're just wait.
You're give my piece. Let me give my piece, all right? All right, so Patrick Mahomes is going on the road for the first time in his playoff career. His first road playoff game, right?
That's true.
What a loser.
Wow. Okay. All right. And Buffalo, they've won. They ended... They won all the regular season games, won all the games they need to win in order to clinch the AFC East title, and now they're in the 2 seed and they find themselves here. So I think that it's no secret the Bills have been playing better than the Chiefs. Obviously, yes. We all agree on that. And however, the other team has Patrick Mahomes under center. And I found from experience... I'm referring to a certain game here, that you don't really bet against him in the postseason, especially when you're trailing, whatever it is. Whatever the circumstances are, as long as number 15 is there, Kansas City has a chance. And I think that's obviously going to be true in this one.
That's fair.
Let me finish. That being said, The way the Chiefs have been playing this year has not been convincing on the offensive side of the ball. And in the playoffs, you need some semblance of offense to win games, to move on, to move through the bracket, and hopefully achieve the ultimate goal of winning a Super Bowl. If the Chiefs want to do that, they need to play at a much higher level offensively than they have been playing throughout the season. They have weapons. That guy under center, Taylor Swift's boyfriend, rookie Rashee Rice has come onto the scene. He's been one of the best. I think he's been the best rookie receiver in the league. Period. And he's been
second best.
Second best. Thank you. He's been one of the best rookie receivers in the league, hands down. Yeah. No questions asked.
I'll agree with one of the best.
And he's been. I think he's the best. He's the best. Okay, he's the best wide receiver on the Chiefs roster.
Yeah.
Yes. Travis Kelce's a tight end. Anywho, I don't trust the rest of Mahomes' supporting cast whatsoever. Mm-hmm. Because of that, and I think this game is. I think Allen and Mahomes are going to go toe for toe for the vast majority of the game up until about 5 minutes ago in the fourth quarter. That is when Allen is going to flip the switch and lead his team down the field, score a touchdown. Bills defense gets a stop with about a minute and a half to go. Bills win 24-17.
Okay,
that's what I got.
Okay,
that's what I got for y'all.
I think they're 3-3 against each other.
Really?
Mahomes and Allen.
Mahomes and Allen, yeah.
And there have been 3 games decided by one score. Three games.
Let it be known that overtime game still lives rent free in my head because I just love that the NFL changed the overtime rules
because of that
for just playoffs because they're admitting that their playoff system is horrible yet they keep it for the regular season. So. There's that.
Yes.
I guess part of it comes down to extra players don't want to have to play as much. Like they don't want to play out. They don't get paid overtime for.
I guess it kind of makes sense. Sort of
overtime.
It's like if you're going to overtime, like, oof. And it's taking you that long to score in the regular season. And teams are just like, all right, let's tie. Let's
go break the tie. Who really cares, honestly?
It's like the Chargers and Raiders a few years ago.
I remember that. The last game of the year.
They would have both gotten in, right? And then did they kick a game-winning field goal?
Yeah.
The Rangers were just like, all right, screw you.
Yeah, that was rough.
But it's coming up on about 5:30, and I think that's a good spot to.
That's all 4 of our games this weekend.
Yeah, that's all 4 of the games, and it went. We talked about that. Oh no, we went NFL playoffs for a lot longer than I thought we would.
Yeah,
to be honest,
there's a lot to talk about. Yeah,
there was a lot to talk about. You're right, and that's gonna. I think it's gonna do it for this week. Yeah, there we go. That's gonna do it for this episode, the first one of the new spring semester.
RoboCop, like we started.
RoboCop, Quinn.
I'll put it on you.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh yeah,
RoboCop. There it is.
It's more like this. There you go.
Joe, my man, thank you again so much for coming on. We loved having you here. It was so much fun, and we're definitely gonna get you on again before the semester.
Of course.
Before the semester's over. But for now. They'll be up on Spotify.
Sorry, I got distracted.
No. You're all good. It'll be up on Spotify soon. It'll be available on multiple platforms. Spotify, YouTube. YouTube, yes. It will be up soon.
Yes, sir.
But for now, that'll do it. And
I think this was episode 13.
Yeah, I think so.
Is that unlucky?
Yikes.
Yeah, that's not great.
Yikes.
That's not great.
Well, let's cast that aside just for this.
I'm gonna test the log to see if I have a ticket in my parking spot or not.
Oh,
I forgot.
That'll decide it.
All right.
We'll update on the next show.
Yeah.
We'll have to check. We'll let y'all know on the next show. But until then, we'll see you soon.
Bye everyone.